Well, good morning, everybody. You're listening to Prepper Talk Radio here on K-Talk, AM 630. You can also download the app at our new website, ktalkmedia.com. Make sure you check that out. We've got a lot of new good content in there, and we're updating that every week. So you can check out the weather, the news, and definitely check out all the show lineups. So we're Prepper Talk Radio. I'm Mr. Preppercon, and I've got the prepared guy in studio, as always.
Call me Shane.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm good.
Yeah?
It's a pretty heavy environment out there now. It's if you're watching the alternative media, not the regular media, we don't encourage that whatsoever. And we consider ourselves part of the alternative media.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, it's some very concerning stuff going on. So we'll have a few minutes to talk about that, I guess, this morning.
We're going to have a fun show. We're going to talk about what's going on with the economy, what's going on with the world. We're going to then jump into what we can do to make sure we're growing food year-round, that we're self-sustainable. Got a couple of fun guests that are going to be talking about some cool products that I'm actually saving up for right now.
Cool. Yeah, that's a really interesting topic for me is how do you grow food in Utah in the winter?
Well, Utah's such a harsh environment to grow in the summer, let alone winter. I mean, I'll be honest, my kale attacked by bugs, my spinach attacked by bugs, and I don't like the chemical crap.
No.
Right? I don't want to have to
I don't even think about
eat that. I just don't even want to think of it, so I go all natural. That sounds weird. I go as clean as possible. I wear
Scott all natural.
I keep clothed. I garden well covered. But yeah, there's got to be a better way to do all this. And with our harsh environment, it's so hard to have a good long growing season. So I've been talking to some guys that can actually show us how to do a year-round harvest, and also expediting those harvests. So you're actually getting better sunlight and better transition.
Not
for
something
your
we
food.
typically think about during the winter is growing crops. So we
Yeah.
thought these bring this to your attention. But Scott, don't forget about Survival Medical.
Oh, well, I can't. I was actually going to bring him up next. So
Oh, cool.
great transition.
Sorry.
We'll call this our stupid segue.
Well, there's me to a T right there. So.
You know, our show, we would not be able to do this. It would not be possible without our good friends, Survival Medical. They're our show sponsor. And what does that mean for you as a listener? I mean, it doesn't mean a whole lot other than the credibility of what this product is for us. This is what I carry in my car, survival-medical.com. They've got everything from kits for fishing, boating, to backpacking, hiking, just long road trips. The things that you can think of that could happen. Their burn kit's amazing. I actually have a good friend Josh over at Family Storehouse. His e-cigarette exploded.
Oh, really?
And I guess that's an issue. I guess the Galaxy Note explodes and e-cigarettes explode in your pocket. And his employees, as soon as it went off in his pocket, he yelled and he's like, "Get me the kit!" And they ran and they grabbed their first aid kit, which is Survival Medical, and in there they have a burn kit. An actual specific kit. Everything in there is designed for burning. It's very easy to use. You applied it. It went well. Got to the doctors. The doctor said, wow, that's actually the best thing you could have done. So that's a big shout out to Survival Medical. They put the right stuff in each kit so that you're prepared.
Makes it very simple and very straightforward.
Very simple, very straightforward, and it's got a 20-year shelf life. Up to 20 years. As long as you're not destroying it. But it's waterproof. I love that. I mean, I can take it with me pretty much anywhere, and I'm not going to have to worry about it. If my basement floods, and I've got to get down there, I don't have to worry about it.
And here's something else: if an EMP is threatening, you've got these Mylar bags. Take your cell phone, throw it in the Mylar bag.
Pull your first aid kit out long enough to survive that issue.
Exactly. So
there you go. grab a Ziploc and
that's what's
out.
Great about us prepper. We have to learn how to improvise and use the resources that are around us.
Adapt. And everything's about redundancy.
Redundant and diversification. Yeah. Absolutely.
So thank you, Survival Medical, for being our sponsors. If you're listening, go check them out at survival-medical.com. Their specials right now are awesome. They're just one of the best values in first aid out there.
And I think next week we're going to talk a little bit about Christmas gifts, prepper gifts.
We are. I've got a whole list.
Me too. So I know exactly what I want. So
the last-minute stocking stuffers, as well as some bigger items as well.
And I can't think of a better gift than some of these small first aid kits.
Yeah, the Backpacker Ultralight is perfect.
On the fly kit.
On the fly kit, that's great. So let's talk about really what's going on right now in the world for a second.
Well, isn't everything just dandy that Trump's now our president-elect? I mean,
that's what everyone thinks.
It's a great. I mean, it really feels the environment and everyone's attitude is just, oh, Trump is. It's honestly, and I hate to say this, it kind of feels like when Obama first came into office. Oh, Obama's going to save us. It's kind of that same. I mean, not for me, but that same kind of attitude that consumer sentiment's up. Everybody wants to spend money.
There's a large portion of society that's thinking that way, and then there's also a large portion of the society that's like, not my president.
Yep.
Freaking out. I think what's going to be coming down the pipe is a lot worse than what we saw under Obama.
And I think it's not necessarily, let me just put the caveat out there, is not because of Trump.
Right. Well, and a lot of the things that Obama dealt with weren't because of Obama.
Right.
I mean, Obama, not the smartest guy when it comes to taking care of
much of anything,
the planet, taking care of the people. But we put too much pressure, I think, on the president, thinking, oh, well, the president can
He's going to fix it.
There's a reason why we have multiple branches in the government. There's the executive that can only handle executive decisions. We have 3 branches for a reason. But
you tell that to Obama.
Yeah, and he's tried to overreach that a lot. The problem that I see right now, and I'm actually writing a blog article for this, is this. I call this the calm before the storm, or the hurricane's eye. Right? We've been in this big mess for so long. We've got this little breath. Everyone's going, it's good, yay!
It's going to be good from here on forward. And I hear that a lot on a lot of these blogs I listen to, a lot of these vlogs. That Obama's going to fix all this stuff, and hopefully he does, and I think he's on the right track.
Now?
Excuse me. Yes, Trump. He's on the right track. He's going to fix a lot of things, and hopefully he does, and I think he's on the right track for fixing it. The main thing that I think a lot of these people, these commentators, these bloggers, whatever, aren't taking into account is this one statement. And maybe I'm jumping ahead a little bit, Scott. So feel free to pull me back. You're good at that. And I'm good at jumping ahead. But the statement that keeps coming to my mind is that, one that Lord Maxim Rothschild said back in the day, 1800s, whatever the date was, is, he said, basically, I care not who, if I can control the money, I care not who makes the laws. Something to that effect. And I think that's the main thing that people aren't taking into account, is that it doesn't matter who's going to be president. It really doesn't. I am happy that Trump made it into office over Clinton, but we're still going to be turning downwards.
Yeah, and I was voting for Castle. I think he was a long shot, but that was my guy.
Options. Yeah, me too.
But yeah, we're looking at a situation right now where a lot of people think we're good. The reality is we're going to have more challenges with banking and more challenges with health.
It's exactly
than ever
where
before.
Yeah, I want to go with this conversation.
And that's where it's going. We actually, we had a caller for a second.
Go ahead, call back. We'll try.
Call back in. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
We'll zip our mouths here for a little while
on what's going on. What they see happening. If you've got a comment on this, what you see happening in the next little while, next few years, really.
So I know we don't have. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the big thing I think is there is a financial collapse coming. We've been warned of it over and over again, almost to the tune that someone's crying wolf, right? Mm-hmm. Well, we don't have any control over when it actually happens. Everyone that's crying wolf or crying, hey, there's a financial collapse coming, they need to understand there's different types of financial collapses. We're looking at a switch from cash to digital.
Mm-hmm. That's the biggest concern right now. And, to try and keep this short as possible, because we could take an entire show to talk about this, but we only have about, 5 minutes left. But
holy cow.
Yeah, exactly. So, the danger right now, I think, is, and if you're looking at trends worldwide in different countries, in India, and I left my list in the car, so I apologize, but all these different countries are moving away from cash.
Yeah.
And, like, for example, in India, what happened recently? They took away the 1,000 and 500 rupee note. I think it's rupee. So basically, like $15 and a $7.50 note, which for us that's insane. Obviously, they can live off less money over there. They don't have as high expenses as we do.
That'd be like us taking away the 10 and the 20.
Yeah.
Or the 10 and the 5. Huge
exactly.
issue.
Which would say, okay, the 50 and the 100 are gone too at that point. So
let me pull this caller in.
Yeah.
They're calling back. I want to take them. Hey, thanks for calling back. You're on the air with K-Talk. You're listening to Prepper Talk Radio.
I just want to chime in on your conversation. Great program. Love to listen to it.
Thank you.
But, you guys were talking about Trump and, you know, how a lot of people are thinking he's going to be the silver bullet, and he's not. You're going to have to always defend your freedom, probably till the day you die. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty young, so you know, I'm pretty optimistic about having him as president, though, and some of the decisions that I'm hearing that he's making. I mean, I can only be hopeful, like the rest of us.
Yes.
But I mean, we've been on an unsustainable path for 30 years now.
Yeah, that's the point.
Due to greed.
Well, and the thing is they keep
kicking.
Kicking the can down the road.
That's the biggest issue right there.
And if you were smart in the last 30 years, you got your ducks in a row. And if you weren't,
get smart now.
They're going to be hard for you. I think if we do this transition carefully and moderately, I think we're going to be in good shape. But I think it needs to happen slowly, moderately, and things need to be done within reason.
Yep. Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, within reason, slowly, moderately, within reason. I think a lot of people, when they start talking about prepping or preppers, they think super crazy whack jobs, wearing tinfoil hats, going nuts on everything, and that's not the truth. Mm-hmm. You know, preppers are the most mild-mannered, thoughtful, methodical people I know.
Yep.
And it's all about being wise in what you're doing.
I mean, raising. I mean, me, I'm old school. I mean, I'm driving.
You're young, but you're old school.
Yeah, my truck's 1985.
Perfect.
You know?
Yeah.
Nice.
77s, years like that. You know.
Well, we're going to try and squeeze another caller in here. Thanks for your comments. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for calling in.
Take care.
All right, take care.
Hey, thanks for calling K-Talk. You're on the air with Prepper Talk Radio.
Yeah, hey, this is Ron and Murray.
Hey, Ron.
I'm looking forward to looking at what you guys gave me information-wise. My son is an EMT, and he loves getting his hands on some of this emergency preparedness medical stuff.
Absolutely.
And how necessary it is, and we talk quite often about this. I've been watching the stock markets in the U.S. and world financial stuff for years, and do my own self-directed IRA and so on. And I just want to back up what you guys have been saying. We are in for some really tough fiscal and financial times, especially with a approximately $20 trillion debt.
Mm-hmm. That we know of.
Yeah, $20 trillion that we know of, Shane.
That's on the books.
You know, doing a self-directed IRA, I think that's one of the more brilliant things you can do when it comes to being self-reliant. Keeping everything in your hands or in your control as much as you can, and being wise. I mean, being wise about it, but it forces you to study more, and it forces you to be aware more.
Yep.
How has that additional study affected the rest of your well-roundedness in being self-reliant?
Well, you got a real point there, because our plan, is well-rounded, and we're prepared for a lot of different things, and including people are going to need food, water, and emergencies, medical supplies, and medicines if they can get their hands on them, and so on. In fact, later on at 4 o'clock, Nils Crenshaw is going to have an interesting guest coming up, Sarah Monet, who had one of the most interesting near-death experiences back in the late 70s, and the things that many of us believe are coming right down the pipe, and I see the beginnings of these things. I've seen them for some years now, including financial problems. It's not gonna be easy to deal with, and a lot of people are going to be caught.
Absolutely. Yeah,
unaware.
we think that the big issue right now is watching the financial markets.
Yep.
Watch what's happening. Watch what's going to change, and the solutions that are going to be presented are actually designed, mastercrafted to take us further down the hole.
Yeah, we're going to have to talk a little bit more about this after the break, because I've got to get my warning voice out there before we get done with this. Move on to our next guest. But thank you for your call. Sure appreciate it. And I think that's the warning voice we want to try and put out this morning is, don't take all this supposed good news for face value, I guess is what I'm saying. Is that the powers that be are going to be doubling down on us. We need to double up and double up our preps, and we'll talk more about that a little bit after the break.
And a reminder, Prepper Talk Radio is brought to you by Survival Medical, the only first aid kits tougher than nature. Hospital quality, hospital grade, in your back pocket.
The all-new K-Talk Media. Online at ktalkmedia.com.
Welcome back to K-Talk AM 630. You can follow us on Facebook at K-Talk Utah, Twitter at KTKK, and you can always find us at Prepper Talk Radio as well. You're listening to the funnest show on the station, in my humble opinion.
Darn right.
Hey, we want to remind you guys we are brought to you by Survival Medical. Survival Medical is the only first aid kit tougher than nature. It's hospital grade, hospital quality. It's easy to use, and every package, every plan was designed for long-term storage. So whether you're using it right away or using it later or using it both, it's still going to last. Whereas a traditional first aid kit, a lot of things expire quickly.
Yeah, I've been going through my other first aid kit because I don't like to waste things. I still like to use them. But I'm going, as I go through my first aid kit, and I need a Band-Aid, and I noticed, the packages are all just open. They're not even sealed
they open
anymore.
Themselves.
Just open themselves.
That's like that kind of feels like my bank account. I think everything is good, and I look at it again, and everything is kind of open and falling apart. And that's kind of part of what we're talking about today is
nice little segue.
Being able to be self-reliant, but being aware of what's really going on with our finances, what's going on with our resources. Mm-hmm. It's getting harder and harder to be self-reliant, right? There's so many cities have restrictions on what you can and can't do in your own yard. And your own yard.
Exactly.
Property you purchased.
Yep.
It's not theirs, your land. For example, there's a HOA community here in the Salt Lake County that you're not allowed to garden in. You cannot have your own garden, but you can use their community garden.
But also, keep in mind that these HOAs kind of did this to themselves. They're the ones who vote. They can change it if they want to. They can call a meeting and vote and change their HOAs and rewrite them.
Possibly, depending on the bylaws. The bylaws could be written in such a way that you can't change certain rules and regulations. Things. So it drives me nuts. So I look forward to the day when I'm living further off the grid and more self-reliant.
Hopefully sooner than later.
The dream is an alpaca ranch somewhere. But that's going to take a lot more than just dreaming to make happen. So what we're talking about right now, though, is really what's happening. I mean, we started getting into the cashless society thought, right? Right now, how do you pay for things when you get to the store? Most of us are pulling out a little plastic piece of garbage that's got a little magnetic strip that.
But man, they're convenient.
Half the time doesn't work.
That's so nice to use. You don't have to carry on any cash. You don't got coins jingling in your pocket. You just got this little thin piece of plastic, right? You just swipe it, and magically it's all you can take the stuff out of the store.
It's a credit account, really. Even if it's directly connected to your checking, whatever. It's a credit account. It's you have these ones and zeros in the bank, and then you transfer those ones and zeros. It's not a real representation of money. It's not a real representation of wealth.
Yeah, one thing I really like to distinguish is the difference between currency and money. Yes, we use money kind of interchangeably for everything we use, but the truth is that the only thing that is money is precious metals. But money could also be bartering.
Right. You can have a value affixed to different items.
You have some seashells, you're bartering with. I mean, that used to be a type of currency back in the day, thousands of years ago.
Well, I mean, you look at history and you look at Rome. I mean, they had their silver and their gold, and they were one of the best societies by their standard for a long time. And a lot of historians will tell you they were the best. And I kind of like my fully functioning flushing toilets and the way things are set up now. I think,
but they did have
a
good
better
for the day. They had it really
They had it pretty dang good.
Really good.
But I mean, whenever you pull from a true money and you start using a currency, that currency can be really, really, really screwed over by anyone that wants to control that. So banking industry has power over that.
Exactly, and I think that's what we're trying to get at this morning, talking about Trump coming into office, that he really has he says a lot of great stuff that I'd love
Oh, yeah.
That I sure hope happens. Honestly, I don't know that he has enough time before we have a serious crisis, a financial crisis.
Right.
And that's kind of where I wanted to lead this conversation is why am I concerned that we have a financial crisis? Of course, as preppers, we try and keep a thumb on a little bit of everything out there. It's hard to watch everything, and things sneak up on us, like this thing in India. I think that was a true black swan. I mean, I don't think anybody, well, I take that back, but very few people had any idea this could possibly happen in India, of all places. India is a place where they value gold and silver. I mean, they don't save money in the banks as much as they'll go and buy gold and silver because it's part of their culture, and they see the value in having precious metals. And so for this to happen over in India, of all places, take away their cash and become almost a cashless society overnight is mind-bending, mind-boggling. And it's difficult to understand, but if we look back, we can start to see with 2020 hindsight.
Yep.
So,
and then what happens with this money? If anything happens, that money can't buy anything.
Yep.
You're left with what you can grow. You're left with what you can do. You're left with what you've stored, and what you can barter for. So
we're hoping that the people in India really start to revolt against this because otherwise it's going to come to our way really quick. I guess we have a caller here. Oh, no, never mind.
We've got our
guest.
VIP guest is calling in here in a minute. We're going to bring him on in a second. It's Alma with Vital Domes. They've got a greenhouse dome, and that was one of the things we want to talk about today. Is as we're moving through what's going on with the economy, it's going to affect your buying power. Mm-hmm. It's going to affect your ability to get food and put food on the table. And there's some really neat companies that are helping create food. Mm-hmm. Not genetically modified crap. Actually, create ways you can grow your food better, more year-round, more sustainable, in less square footage. And so that's one of the things we're going to be talking about later on the show. Because as we fall into that cashless society, how do you go get food if you don't have that?
Yep. And we all know we're headed toward not just inflation, but hyperinflation, or a form of hyperinflation, along with some deflation as well. So it's going to be just really messed up. And we're starting to see a lot of those effects. Like, for example, for me, I see copper. What happened to copper lately? It went boom, through the roof. It's a hockey stick up. And although it's only 10 or 20 cents up from where it was at that point, it's still an anomaly. And I see that as maybe the starting of a type of an inflation in that particular market, where that is an actual hard asset. Gold and silver are so manipulated that it's hard to make any kind of quantity purchase. But I can see how copper has been a form of money back thousands of years ago. So it's not really a monetary metal by any means,
right?
But it does have value because it is a tangible asset. So,
and anything with a limited amount, whenever something's scarce, the more scarce it is, obviously, the more value it gives. Hence, diamonds. Mm-hmm. They've created this fake, false scarcity so that they can inflate the value of diamonds really high.
I'm glad you said that.
Whereas gold has a true scarcity, silver has an even larger scarcity. Mm-hmm. They have true value. Food, absolute scarcity. Mm-hmm. Because it's only available seasonally, and
especially here,
as we destroy those seasons, or as we destroy the ability to grow crops, that food gets inflated, and it becomes more valuable the more scarce it gets. So with that, let's bring Alma on.
Okay.
Alma, hey, thanks for joining the show today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So Alma is the owner of Vital Domes, and you guys have been around for a couple of years now, doing survival shelters. But you guys are now you've taken your shelter, which is awesome, and you've also made a greenhouse out of it.
We did. Well, we were having such great success with the survival shelters. We put a passive window in, a passive solar window to heat the internal of the shelter, and it works absolutely great. We were sitting there thinking, after going to a bunch of trade shows and talking with different people and finding out what the needs were. You got your food, your shelter. You got to stay warm, get out of the elements. But if you can't eat, you're in trouble. And a lot of people kept asking, hey, in that window, can we hang plants? And we thought, well, we do that. Why don't we just make a full-blown greenhouse, use the same frame? You can use the Mittlighter method by going vertical. And we announced them just a couple weeks ago.
That's awesome.
And they're out on our website. They're awesome. They're absolutely awesome.
Now, I've been able to come up there and walk through one of them, and I was really impressed. This was about a month and a half ago. It was like 40 degrees outside and a good 75, almost 80 degrees inside with humidity.
Yeah, they're phenomenal.
So with this, you said you can do the Mittlighter method. Now, your domes are taller than a lot of the competitive domes out there.
They are.
What does that help with gardening for?
Well, it certainly, especially if you're trying to go vertical. If you're going to try to get the most amount of vegetables in a given space, you got to go vertical. Horizontal, you only have so much room. But if you can go horizontal and vertical, and you have that ability to get right up against the walls, put your tomatoes against the walls, you have a lot of space in our dome that you just don't have with others.
That's a great point.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's true.
So with bringing on these domes, I mean, how much does that really improve my growing season?
Well, up here in the Cache Valley area where we're up North Cache Valley, I believe we're in a Zone 5. Basically what that means is that by mid-spring, March, April, May in there, you want to have everything in the ground. By May, you're going to start sprouting, and we're done growing end of September, early October. It's just too cold. We can extend, with the greenhouse, we can extend that by several months. And this is a non-heated greenhouse, meaning we don't have any artificial methods to heat it. We're not running the wood stove. We're not running gas. But you can go from a Zone 5 to a Zone 7. And in terms of output, getting 2 months up to 2.5 months more growing time out of your garden is absolutely tremendous. I mean, it's huge.
And I guess the key really, or the benefit of having a greenhouse is really being able to control that environment, whether it's summer, whether it's fall or winter, be able to better control the temperature in there through ventilation, through, even adding, like, say, a wood-burning stove in there to even grow all year round. And I guess it depends also what you've planted and what you intend to grow.
Yeah, now if I were to do it all year round, first thing I would put in a thermal mass heater with a rocket stove.
Oh, right.
Get a big thermal mass in there. They're going to be much more efficient. You're definitely going to have to insulate it, but you can grow all year round if you do that. We have a couple of customers up in Alaska that are very interested in us putting greenhouses up in Alaska, and that's a challenge in and of itself because, one, you don't have as much sunlight as we have down here, and you have to rely on artificial lighting, and you absolutely have to insulate it. And so those are a couple of things that we're working on. We're really excited about that.
That's cool.
So I know a lot of the greenhouses that are plastic. I guess yours is like PVC type material. I'll ask you to explain a little bit more about that. But part of that insulation is adding a second layer of that plastic and having an air layer of air in there between the two layers as an insulation layer. Is that kind of what you're leaning towards? Well,
yeah, we have different options. You can do one that's just a single layer, works really well when you're down in warmer climates, southern climates. Just do a single layer of fabric so that it packs away nicely and it lasts years. 10 years.
Wow, 10 years? That's amazing. Because traditional greenhouse tops are about 2 years and you're done.
Yeah. If you get that little 6 mil plastic, they say it'll last 2 to 4 years tops.
Yeah.
I mean, drive around, you'll see a lot of them that were set up last year. They're putting plastic on again this year. They just don't make it through the season. We're using a laminated polyvinyl with it's called a scrim. It's basically 1/4-inch fabric on the inside, the polyester fabric on the inside with a laminated vinyl on the outside. And we can get 10 years plus of life out of that. And it's just phenomenal. I think we're in, trying to remember, Scott, you and I were talking about it before. I'm not next to the spec sheet, but I think we're about 88% diffused.
Oh, no, it was 72% sunlight coming through.
72% sunlight.
Which is great because then you're not burning anything. That's my problem.
Right, so you don't
I always burn.
So you don't have to necessarily worry about shading.
Yep.
About creating some kind of shade and such.
But to finish answering your question on the multiple layers, some of the other options that you can go with obviously put another dome on the inside, get that secondary layer with blowing fans to to separate it. Now you could use a 6 mil, or you can go all the way to polycarbonate, and they have different types of polycarbonate, different layers. And if you're in really cold climates, the polycarbonate option is a really good way to go. It's very strong, but it lasts years and years and years, and it has some air trapped in between, so it has some insulative value.
That's cool.
Okay.
That a single layer simply doesn't have.
So
but either way, you have to insulate them.
So I guess because of the structure of the dome itself, you don't have to worry about snow load at all. I mean, whereas a typical greenhouse, you do need to be concerned about the snow load, up in our area.
Yeah. We're not worried about snow loads. We're not worried about hail. We're not worried about, unless the hail is absolutely ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
We're not worried about the sudden storms that come through, the microbursts.
Mm-hmm.
Once you stake this thing in, you can handle 100-mile-an-hour winds. You can handle huge snow loads.
And if it were to get damaged, I guess, by a branch or something, it can easily be repaired.
It can, yes.
That's cool.
Awesome. So now where would people want to go to find out more information about these?
I would have them go to vitaldomes.com. We've got one right there on our homepage.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right there. It's the middle picture. So check that out if you're interested in getting a Vital Dome. What's the delivery time on one of these? About 3-4 weeks, or?
No, with these right now, with our throughput, someone came in and ordered today, we could have one to them. Let's see, what day is today? It's before Christmas.
Wow.
We
Nice.
could have to them by Christmas. So if they wanted to surprise their wife or their husband, stick it underneath the tree or hide it in the garage because it's pretty big. You'd have to have a pretty big tree.
I was about to say, these are huge.
Say, hint, there's is what I want for Christmas.
Put your new tree in the backyard with one of these over it.
Perfect.
There you go.
You could. Yeah, set this up, put your whole Christmas in the dome. Enjoy it outside.
Well, hey, thanks for joining us. We actually are running into a break right now.
Thanks, Alan.
Check out the website, guys. Go to vitaldomes.com. Check out the greenhouse. This thing is awesome. It's huge. I've been in it. I can't wait to put one up in my yard. We'll be right back after this break. Reminder that we're brought to you by Survival Medical, survival-medical.com.
The Rocky Mountains, K-Talk Media. Live, local, two-way, AM 630.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. You're listening to K-Talk AM 630 with awesomeness abounding. We've got another guest in the studio. We've been talking about what's going to happen with this economic crash, what's going on with the world, and stop holding your breath thinking everything's going to be good going forward because we're in the eye of the hurricane. During the break, I actually had a call from one of our good listeners, and she was talking about a time when she was living in California. They had an earthquake. The day after, when parents were back at work and everything's going on, she went down to Safeway, and she said the stores were pretty much empty. The shelves were pretty much empty of food. The produce aisle was just obliterated. And so she was feeding the neighborhood kids because they were out of school for a couple of days while the parents were all at work because nobody had food in their homes. And I think that's a great story to share because that's the reality of what could happen to us if we're not starting to be more self-reliant, if we're not taking care of our own family's needs and putting things away for the future. I mean, I love the concept of canning because you're putting away the stuff that you're growing, that you have control over, and it's in the recipes you love.
So you grow during the summer, you can it for the winter, but with greenhouses, and what we're talking about today is be able to still extend that season to grow more food or grow all the way through the winter.
Yeah, which brings us to our next guest, Tyson over with Sky Farms. Tell us, I mean, this is, I've seen your product. I'm a little giddy. I'm excited. This is such a cool way to do gardening. I'll let you explain it and introduce yourself. Tyler. I don't know. Why did I say Tyson? I'm sorry. I talked to Tyson yesterday, so maybe Tyson. I'm thinking chicken. I don't know. I'm hungry.
Yeah.
I'm all over the place.
I haven't had breakfast either.
Well, tell us a little bit about Sky Farms and what you guys do.
Yeah, so briefly, the story of Sky Farms has to do with rescuing children from trafficking. It's a little bit of a roundabout story, but what we found is that we've done a lot of work with Operation Underground Railroad and other groups that are rescuing children, and they end up in safe houses, and the safe houses have a sustainability problem, both in the food that they're able to consume and the finances to keep the lights on.
Gotcha.
Oftentimes they have free spaces for a safe house, but no way to support that. So we went and looked at a lot of different methods to be able to help support those safe houses and provide an income to keep those going. And through that process, we looked at a ton of things, and one thing we came up with is hydroponic growing. And that led us to develop what we have today, which is the Sky Gardens.
Fantastic.
Very cool.
So we basically, as this applies to everyone else, you took the scenario with kids that come out of trafficking. They go to a safe house. Those safe houses are costly. There's a financial burden as far as especially feeding the kids, because they also get therapy while they're there and learning and education. But it's not sustainable, as you said. And that's kind of what we as preppers look at as that's the future reality for us.
Now, are they typically in urban areas?
Yeah, they are. So we looked at models where we could grow and have sort of a micro business that's associated with those safe houses. And through that process, ultimately what we found is that it was actually more cost effective to grow here in the States and send the money back to support those safe houses.
Wow.
And so we have a commercial operation where we're growing produce that is sold to hotels and restaurants and grocery stores. But a smaller version of that is something you can put in your home, which is the Sky Garden.
Fantastic. So tell us about Sky Garden. How does that work?
So Sky Garden, it's essentially a cabinet. It's about 3 feet deep and 6 feet tall. It's all self-contained. It grows with LED lights and recirculated water. So it's different than aquaponics, where we're not using fish in that ecosystem. Right. You introduce some nutrients into the water, but it allows you to grow without herbicides, pesticides, the other things you'd find in an uncontrolled environment. And one of the things that we've found, and so these will go into the safe houses, these micro units for nutrients, for food. We work with an orphanage in Haiti, for instance, where they never see greens. They eat rice and beans, and then maybe once a year at Christmas time they get chicken.
Wow.
So we're able to grow things like a microgreen, which is basically just a sprouted vegetable that's less than 7 days old, and they have 40% more nutrients than the mature plant. So they're easily grown, quickly grown, and they're super nutritious. So
kind of like a Brussels sprout?
Yes.
Or I guess you can sprout pretty much anything. You sprout wheat, you can sprout...
You can. So microgreens are often like a broccoli, a radish, a mustard. You can get kind of a variety in there. But where that goes to for us here domestically as well is that we're able to provide a garden that you can set up in your home, in your basement or wherever, and the kit that you receive has enough produce to last more than a year as you grow those seeds.
Wow. And is it like normal traditional gardening? I have to worry about seasons. This I can do whatever I want all year round.
Yeah, so we grow in a soilless format.
Okay.
We grow using, again, recirculated water and LED lights, so it's very efficient. And you can grow a variety of vegetables. So I mentioned microgreens is one, which is a common and popular growth, but you can grow tomatoes, peppers, broccoli, lettuces, most anything that you can think of. And it's truly farm to table. You grow it, you eat it.
So I can actually just put it right next to the table.
So anything that really grows above the ground, correct?
We can grow root crops as well.
Can you?
So you can grow potatoes,
really?
How do you
carrots.
Do that?
We grow it in a bucket that has some pellets in it that are similar to like airsoft BBs.
I see.
And because of the nutrients that are in the water that circulates through the system, there's no soil required. So you can grow imagine a 5-gallon bucket that's densely grown with carrots that are completely packed in that space. You pull them out, you don't need to clean the dirt off, you just eat the carrot.
That's so cool.
That is really cool. Okay.
Hey, but it's fun to go out and pull the carrots up out of the dirt, right? I mean, the kids like to see how the carrots
go. My challenge growing up is I was always snapping half the carrot off.
Trying to get it out of the ground.
Because the ground was so hard in Colorado where I grew up. It was just, but it was wonderful to be able to pull from the ground food and then go eat it. So this is...
But even bit more so where you just pull it and take a bite from right out of the Sky Garden, right?
That's the idea. And the unit, again, it's efficient enough that there's a lot of different ways that people will use this and are using it. One is to have it farm to table and be growing all the time. There are some people who are their idea of preparedness is putting it in the basement for a rainy day, and they're going to pull it out and build it and go then. It's energy efficient enough that it can run off a small battery or a solar generator because you're not running continuously. So the LED lights are very efficient. They go about 16 hours a day depending on the scenario with the timer, and then the water is pumped every 12 hours.
Now, you were telling me when we met the first time that your growth cycle is a lot faster.
Yes.
Is it because of the way the light is, or is it the nutrition, or what is it? That
I was
kind
of thinking is, you just keep the lights on 24 hours a day, so obviously it's just going to keep growing.
Yeah, plants need rest like anything else, so they need a period of rest. But what you're able to do with an LED light is really tune the ultraviolet lights levels that they're getting. If you imagine your tomatoes in your garden in the summertime, they may get 3 or 4 or 5 hours a day of optimal growth UV, and as you're able to fine tune that, we can give them 12 hours a day or 16 hours a day of that optimal growth light, and then give them a rest period. So the growth pattern is much more rapid.
That's very cool. So how does one like myself get started?
So
with one of these,
what we have is a complete kit that you receive in a box. We've put a lot of thought into the design and engineering of it, so it's actually a toolless assembly. It kind of snaps together like Legos.
So it's like a metal cabinet? Is that what it is? Or what is it?
It's vinyl.
Vinyl, okay.
With a metal frame that it sits on, with an aluminum frame.
Okay.
And aluminum trays. So you pull it out of the box, you put it all together. The seeds are in there, the grow medium, the nutrients. So within an hour or two, you can assemble the box and plant your first crop and start growing.
Holy cow.
I didn't realize that.
Super fast. That's super easy. And I can do this off of solar power panels?
You can.
And just battery bank it?
You can.
And of course, I like the technical questions, about how much power, how many amps and watts is it drawing. But not that I need to know that right now. But
yeah, I should have brought my engineer with me today. We've done that research and have those numbers. I just don't have them handy with me right now. But what we've found is that the unit that we grow and the ability to have those seeds in there, you can grow about $6,000 worth of produce that you would pay for if you went to Whole Foods and bought organic, pesticide-free produce in this unit. And so what we're doing right now is that the unit is $3,500.
Okay.
For the next 48 hours, we're going to have it on our website for $29.99.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Very cool. So I'm looking at a picture of this cabinet. So we're a family of 7, and we're not big vegetable eaters. We should be, but we're not big vegetable eaters. There's certain things we like a lot. We do like broccoli, so I think that's good. We like lettuce, we like salads and such. So for a family of 7, what should I expect? Should I get 2 or 3 or 4? I mean, or how much food am I going to get out of one of these cabinets?
Yeah, so you would just want one unit for your family like that. I have a family of 9, and what we do is grow microgreens. So the microgreens, for instance, they grow in a polyester type, almost like quilt batting.
Okay.
And you're able to keep those fresh and live. So I just pull out a tray and I put it on the counter in my kitchen, and my kids just run by and snack on it as they go through the day.
Dude, I'm going to have to get one of these.
That's more nutritious than any other option. I mean, that's...
Oh, yeah.
Microgreens are just chuck full.
I'm a wheatgrass guy. I like wheatgrass.
Sure, you can do wheatgrass.
Juice. Cool. I just need a juicer. It's wheatgrass.
Or just chew on it.
Yeah,
there you go.
The first time you eat wheatgrass, it's kind of like taking a handful of grass after you freshly cut the grass and throwing it in your mouth. And
it's pretty.
But now I love it.
Staggeringly,
I absolutely love wheatgrass juice. It's a snack. It's a treat now. So I imagine that's the way these vegetables would be right after eating them day after day. Your body starts to crave those types of things you really need.
Yeah, there's a rotation process. You have some things that are a quick harvest, like a microgreen, or a tomato might take 60 days for the plant to be mature and then start producing tomatoes, but it will continue to produce.
Okay.
And so you can have a variety of vegetables and have those rotating. There's multiple shelves in the unit, so different shelves are growing different items at different times, and you just rotate your harvest, and you can always be eating something fresh out of the
that is so cool.
Out of the garden.
That is cool. Yeah, because right now it's like, okay, I want something specific, and it's only grown in a certain season. You're like, oh, well, there goes that.
Some jalapenos.
Or baby spinach. It's like,
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's season's over for that, so you can't get good fresh baby spinach unless it's shipped from somewhere else. But then you don't know what's been sprayed on it, what's gone through it.
So can consumers go to your Sky Farms and actually buy?
Yeah, you can. So
fresh produce?
Our website, well, we don't have wholesale available in the Utah market yet.
Okay,
but we will soon, where you can purchase that. And I should tie this all back in. So what we've done is a portion of our proceeds go to help these safe houses and help rescue children from trafficking, as well as rehabilitate them when they are rescued.
So we can buy a Sky Farm for ourselves, right? A Sky Garden.
Yep.
For our home. Can we sponsor one or donate? Is there any way we can help if we want to help the cause?
Yeah, that'll come online shortly. So we have sort of a crowdfunding where you can contribute towards a garden, and that garden ends up in a safe house or in an orphanage. Cool. We have two now. If you have an opportunity to see the Abolitionist movie, there's a orphanage in there in Haiti that we have 2 units that are there now with solar generators because of the unstable power grid, where they're growing greens to supplement their diets right now.
That's so cool. Oh, very cool.
That's really cool. Now, those of you who know me and have been listening for quite a while, you'll know last year we did a huge fundraiser with OUR in Bountiful, raised over $100,000 for them, and that was a really fun experience for me to be involved to see what we can do to help these kids. Now, this is cool because you can help your family and help these kids at the same time. So a portion of the proceeds for everything on Sky Farms goes to help the kids, help improve their life, help get them back on their feet. And I love that. This is something I'm very passionate about. So that's one of the reasons why I brought Sky Farms on here, is because they work so closely with these groups. But also because it's sustainable. I love anything and everything that's passive. That's why I like greenhouses. It's less work than a regular garden.
Absolutely.
That's why I like Sky Farms. It's less work than a regular garden. It's more controlled. It's a controlled environment that you can dictate what you want to do with it. I think it's a phenomenal product, and it's something that I'll be adding to my my home.
Yeah, in a day where we're losing control, we're losing our privacy, we're losing our own personal freedoms. Adding something like this can increase. I can see how that will increase my own personal, family safety and security and renewability. I mean, of being able to take care of my family a little better. I mean, that's just cool.
Yeah. So tell us again. The website is
thesky.farm. It's kind of a
thesky.farm.
Kind of
Don't
unique
need a .com
address.
on this one. Thesky.farm. Well, thank you so much for being in the studio with us, telling us about the product and just taking time out of your schedule. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hey, listeners, catch us next week. We're going to continue talking about prepping, of course, but this time we're going to get into the last-minute gifts, the fun stuff for Christmas and the holidays. So thank you so much for tuning in, and remember, this is brought to you by Survival Medical, survival-medical.com, the only first aid kit tougher than nature.
Christmas 45, a classic Christmas story for the whole family.